مرحبا يعطيكم العافية. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here, part of this really interesting talk. And it would be great if we can start sharing the presentation so I can start sharing my talk. In the upcoming 30 minutes, we will dive together into what has been happening in terms of patents landscape, inventions landscape related to the agri-food and to the agri-tech, and then understand how business clusters, economic clusters, are fosterers, are adopters for these patents and these inventions. So the talk relates to from patents to practice, how business clusters drive the next wave of sustainable agri-food innovation. So technically, we will understand what is happening in terms of patents landscape throughout the last 2 decades, from the early 2000s until now. We will understand how to move forward in terms of how to valorize and how to adopt these inventions, and then what is the role of business clusters in adopting this innovation, with some deep dive into the GCC and specifically UAE context. And definitely, finally, we will be discussing some challenges in terms of how can we really be succeeding in fostering innovation throughout business clusters. As you might know, by 2050, around 60% of the current supply needs to be increased to satisfy humans' consumption demand. So by 2050, we expect to increase at least 50% our current production volumes. But definitely, as we all know, we are currently suffering from water scarcity, from resource management, resource scarcity, and definitely resource use efficiency. In the agri-food sector, we currently have around 10% of the global patents filing related to agri-food during the last 20 years, which accounts at around 1.5 million patents. So based on the World Intellectual Property Organization, we have more than 1.5 million patents filed throughout these last 20 years. So if we do some radical thinking on this, we understand that the challenge is no longer invention, it is adoption and scaling. So we need no more inventors. Definitely, inventions are always welcome, but we really have a lot on our plates. We need to know how to digest this invention and adopt them and scale them. And this is exactly where business clusters come in to bridge innovation to impact. In the early 2000s, there was a clear focus on chemicals within the agricultural sector, within the agri-food sector, throughout chemical fertilizers, chemical preservatives, and so on. Moving forward through the 2010s and forward, there has rise in biotech and genomics for crop resilience, GMOs, and so on. And 2020s and forward, there was a rise in the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, sensors, and climate-smart farming. And if I may just stop for a few seconds on this slide, I really believe that this is a genuine evolution of the patent filing. So what market was in need for is what was being invented. So we really needed to produce more, to really be more efficient in terms of space, in terms of productivity in the early 2000s. And this is where chemical pesticides and so on were on the rise. Now, moving forward throughout the 2020 until now, we really are feeling and sensing the urge for climate adaptation related interventions, and this is where inventions have started to grow. In fact, biological and environmental patents now outpace chemical ones. I will not delay on these couple of slides, but it's very important to understand the portfolio of the inventions filed by the World Intellectual Property Organization, and this is the latest numbers. Back in 2024. So we see that supply chain management in the food tech is really receiving a high interest in terms of patents, followed by food chemistry, food technology, consumer technology, food services, and delivery services. At the Agritech landscape, it's very important to note that until now, the highest number of patents relate to pest management and disease management, followed by some crop adaptation and genetics, so GMOs, connectivity, sensors and smart farming, livestock management, animal farming management, and so on. So we have a wide range of patents which are there, and they are really dynamic. So they are really urging based on demand. So if we stop now and rethink about the demand, it's important to note that some patents have been stable across the last 10 years, and some have doubled its occurrence and its invention. Meanwhile, the pest and diseases management inventions have kept a steady growth at around 4,000 invention, definitely shifting from chemical pest management into biochemical and biological pest management. We see other types of invention, definitely such as connectivity, sensors, smart farming, doubling the amount of patents, doubling the amount of invention due to the urging demand of smart agriculture. We need to be really efficient in terms of our productivity. Mapping and imagery has also increased, precision agriculture, robotics and drones. So these are really important indicators for us for myself as a manager of a business cluster to understand where to guide the businesses, where to guide the SMEs, with which academic and research institute to link, where to focus, as this is the future. So moving forward, it's important to understand that at both Agritech and Agri-Food levels, so covering innovation from farm to table, we have a set of priorities on where are we heading in terms of invention, innovation, and what can be adopted, and what is being adopted so far. So at the agricultural level, definitely digital and precision farming, climate smart agriculture, soil and biological inputs, controlled environment farming, agri-robotics, and genetics and breedings are on the rise. Most of these innovations are being adopted already, are being in place, and they are being customized, localized for the local context of each SME and each context. At the food tech level, alternative proteins are here, and alternative proteins are here only to grow. Animal meat or animal protein will always be, in the upcoming 30 to 40 years, the #1 source of proteins. However, alternative proteins percentages are really picking up, and ideally they will cover around 30% of the protein consumption at the human level in 2050. And this is a big return on investment. This is a big CAGR rate for those willing to invest in environmental friendly production manners. Sustainable reformulation, smart supply chain, food services, and personalized nutrition are also on the rise. So for businesses, for academicians, I really do not know the exact profile of the attendees, of the dear attendees, but businesses, academicians, and governments should be really handpicking these out of these inventions and innovations and adapt them to their local context in order to make our future more sustainable whenever it comes to food production. This has been already mentioned in the earlier slide. I will not delay on it, but UAE has some strength and some opportunities in adapting and adopting definitely smart and water efficiency farming, climate resilience, saline tolerant seeds, and protected cultivation, circular and bio-based input, sustainable food processing, alternative proteins, smart supply chain, and food automations are really necessities. And I know that UAE is working hard and seriously across several components of these innovations. Now, moving forward, I believe that we have closed the chapter related to patents landscape. So what has been here and what is here to stay and what is here to grow. And now how to link it to our day-to-day activities and to our business private sector strategies. So I really believe, and I have been in the business clusters ecosystem for the last 5 years, and I really believe that business clusters are pivotal, are key players in fostering the adoption of innovation, in handpicking which kind of invention we need to be really taking forward in which industry, and there is only a room to grow for business cluster. In fact, for those who know, in September 2025, the UAE government has already set the national policy for business clusters for the upcoming years until 2051. So it is in alignment with the food security strategy of the country as a main pillar. So business clusters are being acknowledged as a main pillar to foster the food security agenda in the UAE, and this has been adapted from international key players. So EU, the European Union, has already been around business cluster during the last 20 years. We will see some numbers about the impact of business clusters already set in Europe, and UAE government is really ambitious about business clusters. In fact, the government has set 5 sectors priorities, among them the food sector, with an $18 billion per year of support for these business clusters. So UAE is really serious nowadays in moving forward with business clusters as a main fosterer for innovation adoption and for economic growth. So what are business clusters? I assume that many of you are not familiar with business clusters. Myself, after 5 years of being the cluster manager and now the executive director of a business cluster in Lebanon, I always try to explain my work, what I do. I define on a day-to-day basis business clusters. So based on the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, clusters are geographic concentrations of interconnected enterprises and supporting institutions that work together. They do some co-opetition, so they collaborate and they cooperate within a competitive aspect to increase productivity, innovation, and competitiveness, while definitely advancing the inclusive and sustainable industrial development. So UNIDO defines clusters as a powerful mechanism to strengthen SMEs' competitiveness, stimulate innovation, and enable green and digital transition within the industry. I hope now business clusters are more defined in terms of what we do. So in more simple words, business clusters are agglomeration of companies within a specific geographic area or a business interest. So they work all together to uplift the business and the industry and the reputation of the business and the industry. So today I'm here with around 12 industrials in Lebanon at the Lebanese pavilion. You see, many of them do the same, provide the same offering. So they do hummus, canned hummus, or powdered hummus, or whatsoever hummus. The main aim of them being all together here is to uplift the hummus reputation of Lebanon. So ideally, in the upcoming 5 to 10 years, Lebanon will definitely be on the global map of hummus producers from all the categories, from the clean label to the commercial, to the powder, to the functional, and so on and so on. And this is a very brief, high-level example on clustering businesses together to uplift the image and the reputation of the business per se. This example can definitely be replicated with respect to other objectives and other scopes, such as green transition or digital transformation of a specific sector and business. So in Europe, which has been adopting business clusters since the 90s, now data is really set and clear. So based on the EU Commission, 1 out of 4 employees in Europe belongs to an employer belonging to a business cluster. So this is one. So around 25% of the manpower in Europe works within a business cluster's setup. Productivity increases within business cluster between 15 and 140% depending on the efficacy of the business clusters. And access to market, this is the easiest part where business clusters showcase increased revenues and export. At my humble level, so I have showcased QOOT as a case study. So QOOT is Lebanon's first agri-food innovation cluster. We have started with 7 companies back in 2018. Now we are more than 130 companies working all together across value chains, from farmers to processors to exporters. We do several contract farming initiatives as main connecting actor between farmers and processors, eliminating third parties, eliminating distributors, and increasing the benefits for farmers and for producers. We have a set of green transition project with the EU. This is a typing error, so we have already trained 140 SMEs across several priorities. We have established the National Agri-Food Innovation Award with its 3rd edition this year to acknowledge innovators, to acknowledge green transition adopters and patent adopters. And we have definitely a proven impact throughout our years. So moving forward, we have a set of priorities to really adopt green transition and to really adopt competitiveness component for our members. At the UAE level, and this is what I have been mentioning earlier, the Ministry of Economy and Trade has set a 3 years target for economic clusters, specifically for the food cluster, which relates to increasing 33% the GDP from the agri-food sector by clustering businesses together, increasing the trade by 15 billions throughout the 3 years, and by creating 20,000 plus jobs, which means 18% more jobs within the agri-food sector throughout clustering and so on. So business clusters are here. Business clusters are really proven to be efficient models to grow businesses, and whenever you grow businesses within a specific direction, green transition takes place efficiently, resource management takes place efficiently, and patent adoption takes place efficiently. So in fact, the GCC has a current momentum related to fostering business cluster. So a national policy is set in place. The food security strategy is already set in place and moving forward. There is a set of innovation hubs and a set of supporting institutes. So we only need to be moving forward. Definitely, la vie n'est pas en rose. So life is not always as easy, and so the objectives are not easily reached. And this is where challenges might take place. So I do not want to end my presentation in a pessimistic way, but we need to be realistic that challenges would appear and would take place, and we need to understand how to mitigate. So at the policy and governance level, we might have a lack of unified governance model and long-term sustainability mechanism. So we might risk that business clusters in UAE or in any other country might become a branding tool rather than a true economic beast, a true economic ecosystem. At the innovation and knowledge ecosystem, we know that R&D environment, R&D ecosystem in the UAE is building up. So we might have a fragmented R&D environment, weak university, industry, and a policy-making collaboration, limited IP commercialization, and technology transfer. So all these components are building blocks for a successful and impactful clustering, and therefore knowledge transfer from patent creation and invention to patent adoption. Private sector and SMEs readiness, and this is one of the most important weaknesses at my personal Lebanese case, SMEs are not used to collaborate together, are not used to work together. And in fact, unfortunately and fortunately, for those who know, Lebanon has been suffering from a serious economic crisis, and this crisis was a catalyst for SMEs to collaborate together. So this, in fact, from unfortunate occasions, we might see some collaborative activities. Definitely, as you might need to have some data sharing initiatives. So it's really not easy to make companies collaborate all together. And of course, collaboration and the culture, it's a culture mindset which needs to be embedded, seeded now to be harvested later. Cluster managers are really of a rare expertise, which myself I have been really getting, let's say, sculptured to understand what is cluster management and how to deal with a set of stakeholders. And this is a real need at the global level. And definitely, knowledge sharing, cooperation between cluster members is very important and might be a challenge. So, overcoming these 4 big challenges might lead to an impactful clusters reaching the target of the UAE business clusters KPI set. I think that innovation only matters when it takes root. The UAE has the infrastructure and ambition to move forward within this context, and definitely ecosystems needs time, needs resources, needs knowledge. For those who were at the opening ceremony, the video mentioned 4 big keywords: vision, knowledge, harvest, and civilization. So from vision to civilization, it's a process, and ecosystem building is a process. So I thank you for your time. I really welcome any question, and I hope I met your expectation with this information. Thank you.